like to give a very brief outline about how it's going to happen. So we'll be having a moderator, a couple of investors, and a few startups under this session. So the moderator will be beginning the session by giving his outline about the theme, and he will be setting the context from an industry standpoint. This will be followed by the investors providing their perspectives about the theme from their perspective. This is followed by the startups, and they will be pitching about their firm. As in, they will be providing inputs on why they are carrying out the work that they have been doing. So the key environmental, decarbonization, and sustainable impacts will be listed out. So at the end of all of these, we will be having a very short question and answer session with the audience. That will happen for 10 minutes. So on the whole, the session will be concluding by 45 minutes. Thank you. So I would like to request the moderator and the investors to be present on the stage. So for the first session, Renewable Energy, we have Mr. Sudarsan Krishnan from ILLUMINE as the moderator. On the investors panel, we have Neha Misra from Green Artha and Himanshu Sharma from Theia Ventures and Mr. Krishnan Ganesan from GEF Capital. So the startups will be seated here at the audience panel. So they will be pitching about their firm when we call out their names. Lakshmi, Santhanam, she's here. Yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. Please be seated, please be seated.
High session with focus on renewable energy. Quick introduction about myself. My name is Sudarsan, and I'm a founding member from ILLUMINE Industries. We are a sustainable engineering firm focusing on power and construction sectors. Narsi gave me the honor of kind of moderating this particular Y session. Initially, I was a bit skeptical because I don't really want to be part of these things, to be honest. But we all keep talking about how all the any renewable energy source, be it solar or wind or whatever. I think we all keep talking about mass deployment. How do we get the cost of the installation to go down and everything? But I think at a primary level, we should also be looking at innovations for the industry to keep driving, in addition to looking at deployment. So when I looked at the companies that are going to be here, the startups that are going to be here, it kind of made me realize that I need to be part of this. So again, thanks to EAI and Narsi for this opportunity, because we have a pretty very different set of startups here. So I think we have a company here which is doing some work on imaging and analytics. We have a company which is building its own motion-free optical tracking for solar modules, an online marketplace, and when it comes to solar, we all keep talking about solar PV, but we keep forgetting CSP. So there is a company here which is going to talk about concentrated solar power as well. So I think it's going to be an interesting next 40 minutes. So I'm really looking forward to it. With that, I will hand it over to the investors here to talk about introduction about themselves, what is it that they're looking to do, and we'll take it from there.
Thank you, Sudarshan. Hi, everyone. Post-coffee, I think, little bit of energy, I hope. Hi, my name is Neha Misra. I'm with Green Artha. Green Artha is a climate investment firm. We look at areas with high emissions intensity and a potential for scalability. One of the core focus that we have is addressing IP-led innovations which have the potential to be transformational and foundational to the green transition that we need and must achieve in the next few years. What we feel is that with the rate at which India is growing, which is about 6.5% as one of the fastest growing economies in the world, if the way production is not altered or looked at differently in the next 10, 20 years, combined the US, Europe, China, and all other major economies will not be able to meet their NDC targets. Which is why the core focus that we have is renewable energy. Of course, energy transition that includes renewable energy, energy storage, built environment, industrial and SME decarbonization, green chemicals, of course, low carbon materials that all of us need. And why renewable energy becomes very important is, I mean, all of us use washing machines and devices. And none of us, I'm sure, in this room can say, oh, I'd rather wash my clothes by hand. All of us get used to living in, spaces which are air-cooled or conditioned. But none of us say, oh, it might be better to just switch it off, it might be better for the planet. So that's the thesis that we have. We look at climate as an opportunity. We look at climate as a space which is a horizontal, all sorts of means of consumption, production, are aligned with climate, so we don't see it as a vertical, and that's why we are climate first, India first, and really excited to be listening to the startups talk about some of their interesting work. The core focus that we also have is innovations and getting these innovations to market faster. We all know how long it took for solar to be adopted. We can't afford to spend another 60 years on technologies and adoption of technologies. So we are trying to cut down on the long product to market cycle with our demonstration and commercialization support that we provide to these companies to accelerate them and enable them to be debt ready faster, sooner for more adoption. So really excited to be here once again, and over to my counterparts on the panel to talk about some of their work. But yeah, thank you, Narsi, for setting up this event and for having all of us here today.
Hi, first of all, thanks a lot for the Climafix team and the EAI for this opportunity. Maybe before the session, I was just thinking that the question itself, to be very honest, is a little wrong, that why renewable energy. It's not a question of what, it's not a question of why, it's more of a question of what. Maybe from that perspective, being a little bit candid over there, that we as a VC somehow missed the party in the early decades of 2000 when we haven't invested in the renewable energies, when it comes to the solar PV or that sort. But now I think the ball is not in our court. We have already missed that party, and the more sort of the question arises, which start of the session was also mentioned about the innovations in solar. So firstly, why the question comes out there for the renewable? We are a country which is dependent 80% of their energy security from outside India. We see Russia-Ukraine war. What happened in case of during that time? We were still dependent on Russia a lot to buying our electricity. Same goes with Europe as well, for that matter. But the consumption is increasing every day. We are having this session. We are having a couple of malls built up. We are having so many things. Like Neha also mentioned, like the way of a standard of living is going out there and everything. So the energy consumption is definitely going to increase. The more question out there is, why we are still dependent a lot on the coal, which is, we do have a lot amount of mines, but we still import coal from Australia. Why is this still happening? Because the point of the thing is, we're still not able to grasp all the things which are available in this country from a renewable energy standpoint. We still need a lot of amount of innovation when it comes to the wind power. We definitely need innovation when it comes to the solar for that thing. So I think, quickly first, giving a, don't want to just demotivate the entire thing, just quickly giving a brief about Theia Ventures. We are an early stage focused climate tech fund. We have been operational for the last, 2 years. Let me know if you can't hear me. I don't know if the mic is working. It's working. So we have been operational for the last 2 years. In the last 2 years, we have invested in 8 companies so far. And again, IP patent-led investors. To be very honest, I don't know whether patent as a word exists in this country for that matter, but still, I think the technology becomes a key focus when it comes to the investments out there. And from the sectors, we have invested in energy, we have invested in EV, we have invested in carbon markets, and we have invested in climate biotech, alternate materials. So we are pretty generalist when it comes to climate, but climate being the key focus for us. And more of a patient investors for that matter, and do a lot amount of work with our portfolio companies. So now just to more sort of give a trend on what we are seeing in renewable and what kind of a learnings which we had in case of this thing, I think it jumps down to the 4 major points. Firstly, I think the adoption. which is there. So I was chatting with Lakshmi just before this conversation, and we were discussing about that we don't have a green premium in this country. That if I'm using a solar panel, should I be benefited something of that sort? Definitely the price is low, that's fine for that thing. But rather than using a coal, if I'm using coal grid or a fossil fuel based energy, if I'm using a solar energy, can I get a green premium around it? Or can I get some credit around it, right, for that matter? So that's the first thing which doesn't exist on that thing. Sorry, Lakshmi, if I took that point from you. The second thing is, I think on that point from the adoption perspective is, it's happening, the adoption is still increasing a lot, but the point is the education needs to happen a lot at the tier 2, tier 3 level as well, both goes from the commercial and the residential level as well. But I think that's one area which we are developing a lot, especially in case of adoption. One classic example of a company which I really admire a lot is Solar Square, the way they are trying to do when it comes to the adoption part of it. The second is, I think, from the innovation. So still we are not that much par when it comes to the efficiency of the solar panel. That is something need to be worked out a lot, because the point is, as the demand for the energy gonna increase, we need these solar panels to be very efficient. Currently we have silicon based solar panels. Can we have something of a different pattern? A lot of companies are working on that matter. One of the companies to look out for, which actually also another company I admire, is Nopo. They are trying to work on the carbon nanotubes for that matter. So I think, and specifically a lot of education institutes are also trying to do that. Can we increase the solar panel efficiency? Or can we have like for that matter, can we have like a next set of things? Can we have a solar, flexible solar panels or a photovoltaic cells for that thing? But the challenge occurs there in case of a photovoltaic or a flexible solar panel is we need to train our labor class for that thing, because we don't have a skill set to implement a flexible solar panel on these walls and everything for that thing. So I think that's challenge need to be solved, but that innovation needs to happen, because we need, I think I covered the second and third point in that way, but the thing which is key important out there is the efficiency of those things need to be increased. So that even with the sort of same infrastructure and capex, can we extract more energy, because our energy demand gonna increase for sure. I think then, because I covered most like second and third, the fourth point which I really wanted to focus on is these are the real asset class which are being developed in this country. So if we take a look at our country for that thing, our country is majorly run by hard to abate sector, steel, cements and everything. Now you can't just go and switch off the entire production in these 1 at a go, because the entire GDP of the country would be affected. These are the real asset class which are being developed. Now on that analogy, solar is an asset class which needs to be developed from the thermal and power plant. That's while the development is happening, the use of these and the optimization of these needs to happen. So one of the way in which is being done is, can we develop an energy credits on the top of it? Can we have like a short-term energy trading for that? Like India at this point in time, so another just putting out these names, so taking in reference for the crowd so that they can get help in terms of looking for this company. So there's a company called Climate Connect, which was acquired by Renew Power. So the Climate Connect helps you in forecasting of the how much of an energy is required by an IPP, specifically the renewable energy. But you cannot do it more, like you can forecast what's going to happen after 6 months. But you cannot forecast that how much of an electricity this room needs after 15 minutes. That's a short form energy trading kind of that way. And that's a very big market in Europe, but in India we don't have. That, like these kind of technologies will definitely help us to come down to the first point, which is of the adoption, and somehow give us a green premium. I'll just end with that for that thing. I think these are some of the trends which we are seeing in case of renewables, and where we think that India do have the potential to actually make it. And I'm not sure, but there's this one company called Datasee which will be also pitching in today. Like those kind of models which are there. Can we optimize these real assets really in a better and efficient way? So I'll end with that. Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks. So I'm Krishnan. I represent GEF Capital. We are a climate-focused growth stage late equity investor. Just as a genesis, we were founded as Global Environment Fund in the 1990s in the US, much before climate investing was in vogue. We've been in India for the last 15 years. We look at growth stage and late stage private equity investments. On the renewable energy side, we have been investors in some of the largest platforms in India. So we were the earliest investors in Greenco. We were the first institutional investors in Renew Power. And on the renewable energy value chain side, we are currently investors in a solar PV cell and module manufacturing company called Premier Energies. So we've seen a bit of the cycle play through in some of these, some of the renewable energy side. So the way we look at it today, I guess, in terms of IPPs, in terms of the regular IPPs and utilities, so that's something which is a mature sector. So what we see as trends is in terms of the renewable energy value chain itself, where there are significant changes happening because of the increased amount of RE power in the overall grid, right? So in terms of grid balancing, in terms of how that kind of plays out within multiple opportunities on the value chain is opportunities where people can play and kind of get significant returns, both from a startup perspective as well as from an investor perspective, right? And even on the solar PV module side or on the cell side, right, there's lots of geopolitics at play at this point of time, where obviously in terms of efficiencies, as my colleague was speaking about, we are not anywhere closer to what the Chinese efficiencies are, and these are technologies which change fairly frequently, right? So in terms of going back towards the value chain, in terms of getting to polysilicon manufacturing is where some of the international customers are driving some of the solar vendors towards, right? So because they want to kind of decouple from China, have the entire value chain here. So when those opportunities are getting set up at a larger scale, the value chain and the supply system towards that is something which I guess will evolve over the next decade or so, right? So both in terms of the services, manufacturing, as well as the eventual production itself, right? So those are some of the trends which we are seeing, and I guess there are enough opportunities on this space. Obviously, it's a sector which is difficult to make money given the end customer profile and other stuff. So if you picked opportunities which are kind of picks and shovels in that sense, which kind of contribute to the larger scheme of things, I guess there are opportunities there to kind of grow, and it's a significant sector for sure, right? So the amount of RE capacity going to come on stream over the next decade is going to be meaningful in India and globally as well. And you could kind of service India, you could kind of service global markets, and with digitization also coming through, right? The opportunities for that across both starting in India and then going global is something where I think there are opportunities to play for.
Thank you, folks, for the introduction. Should we start with the startups?
The first startup presentation will be given by Mr. Bhaskar R from Datasee.AI. Yeah.
I don't have a deck per se, but I can generally speak. All right. So I hope I can take this chair, so thanks. Thanks to Himanshu. I think you have already done an intro for us. I really appreciate that. So I'll just give the purpose of this entire why session was to explain why are we doing, what are we doing. This stems from two typical motivations. One is the passion towards clean energy. That's the morality-based motivation. And why are we doing this? And what's the need in the industry per se? And second is the economic motivation as well from an industry standpoint. So the kind of problem that we are addressing is digitization of large-scale utility PV plants that actually need a lot of transparent data to address their engineering issues. And we provide a software-based platform that's collecting geospatial information starting from the earliest stage of engineering of a solar PV plant till the entire life cycle, till it goes towards commissioning, and after the entire plant needs to run for the next 20 years. So we provide a software platform that helps the developers, the EPCs, the O&M contractors, the construction teams to understand what's happening on the ground through a visual model where people can actually visualize what's happening on the ground through image data and start making sense of the image data that can actually mean a lot of actionable metrics and insights that can be provided to help better monitor their entire engineering scenario. The need for the industry is more towards how do I kind of optimize the entire asset building process, starting from the earlier stage, and do they have enough engineering inputs to run through the entire life cycle? And the pace at which the entire industry has grown is super fast. Now they are slowly trying to build more specific systems and digitization models to understand how the industry should evolve such that we move towards timely completion of assets and can we get good return on investment within the stipulated time period. So if you look at the entire return on investment life cycle for solar PV assets, across the globe, it's a minimum of 6 to 7 years. So if you can even reduce it by a couple of months or even 3 months, they know that we know the return on investment is far quicker. And what kind of systems and metrics need to be in place is where our startup is focused towards. And we deploy a complete non-invasive method of data acquisition, which is using drones and with satellite image data. Look at how we can monitor the construction and the pre-construction site where you look at development of the entire land, how topography is, and moving from topography to construction, how construction is actually happening, and measure details that is actually not physically possible by humans on the ground. Say, for example, if I want to have a centimeter level precise measurements for your construction, how is that even possible without going to the site? That's where our platform is. So we built a full stack platform that's starting from earlier stage of the life cycle till the entire asset completion and dies over the next 20 years. So wherein you have an entire history of how the asset has been built such that you can keep track on how the asset is actually performing. So part of that is what Himanshu was addressing, where we do a lot of asset management and asset performance management, looking at how the asset needs to have a longevity for the next 20 years, because all solar PV modules come with a typical warranty of 20 to 25 years, right? Be it the polycrystalline or probably your thin film modules. And how do we provide a platform that enables asset owners to track the asset performance completely from a geospatial perspective? That's where our startup is. We've been in this space for the last 5 years. We've got customers across the globe. Based out of Chennai, we moved the HQ to in Atlanta. We have close to 30 odd customers. We have customers in Middle East, Europe, in the US. We have a whole bunch of customers in India. So the why, as I told you, is predominantly having a very clear, transparent solution that's addressing a lot of fundamental engineering issues that could actually accelerate the pace in which the commissioning of all these solar PV plants could be done. So that's it from me. Thanks.
Thanks, Bhaskar. Anyone want to throw any questions for Datasee?
Yes.
Post your plant going live, you monitor through infrared the performance of each module?
Yeah. So basically, I think my voice is loud enough. So I think what we basically do is we do thermography of plants using infrared imaging cameras, and we also use plain RGB cameras as well for vegetation management. Looking at primarily, all these are electrical equipment, so you have hotspots and heat signatures that we identify, and each of these heat signatures could characterize a particular defect. And one of the key things is we kind of define the metrics on what type of heat signatures are new, how can we categorize these for any of the advancements in technology on modules, how can we identify and characterize these, and we have a machine learning model that's actually churning in all the types of defects that we identify and then pushing it back to the end user on how to correct these. So basically a root cause analysis on module failure. So. Any other questions? Operational plants, we do it once a year. Typically for any plant that's actually over the last 4 or 5 years, you do it once a year. But plants that are getting old, say 10-year-old plants, we advise once in 6 months. Some of the plants need once in a quarter. We don't know the depreciation rate. So some of the plants that have been built in 2011, 12, the kind of poor quality modules, we do it once in a quarter also. So just to ensure that you upkeep the plant. No, we don't directly, so we give an estimated rate of module failure because we are the first problem identifiers, right? Thermography gives you the first problem, right? So we act as the doctors of the asset. We tell them, this is the problem, you need to address this particular issue. But there are lots of other issues that would be the cause. So you look at IV curve testing, you look at EL imaging testing, you do much more deep dive analysis. So what we give is a first level estimation. When this potential module could go towards a failure, that's the first level analysis that we do. The subsequent some things are more field testing that you need to do on the ground in itself. That's something that we don't do, but we are slowly moving into that space as well. Yeah. That's true. That's true. That's true. That's true. In fact, one of the things that we do backend as well after the defect identification is we provide kind of a certificate on who was the supplier for this. So we backtrack and go towards the supply chain. When was it installed? So that we give more indices towards how we can identify what the root cause of the problem is, such that the manufacturer has more information on does the panel need a replacement or is it going to be just fixing the issue on the ground in itself. That's the level of detailing that we do. Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. Right. Oh, financial benefits, we typically operate any utility plant. We, from a standpoint of time and man-hour savings that we'll do, so we can cover anywhere between 70 to 100 megawatt in a day, right? That's the scale at which we operate. We assess 70 megawatt of correct. Significantly, right? See, what we do is we provide inputs on how quickly you can go towards completion. Say, if I have a timeline for, say, 6 months of construction for a 100 megawatt plant, how much can we potentially reduce from 6 months to a 5.5 months? Probably a 10-day earlier commissioning, or probably a 15-day earlier commissioning, based on which, when we identify all these issues, you are going towards an IRR over a 5-year period or a 6-year period. Can we reduce it by even 4 months or 5 months? That's the primary value add that we provide from a software perspective. We don't give exact metrics because there are certain metrics which we don't control. Say, for example, inventory and logistics and the time at which the construction could potentially happen. Based on the controllables within our own bound is when we give a timeline. So.
All right. Thanks, Bhaskar, for all the responses. Next, we'll have.
Thank you.
Lakshmi.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Lakshmi Santhanam from Renkube to talk about what they do.
Hi, everyone. We are a deep tech solar startup. We have a new type of solar panel that would be a replacement for your mechanical trackers. All of you would have seen in huge solar farms where the panel keeps moving the moving according to the path of the sun to track it. So our value proposition is we do tracking in a different manner. We call this motion-free optical tracking, and we are the pioneers in this. The tracking capability here is embedded inside the glass. So your traditional solar panel, just like this cell phone out here, it has a flat glass. So now with Renkube's panel, the glass, in addition to this, we have additional glass fixtures that would be put on the panel, and the geometry in the glass will be able to track the sunlight. So our idea was, irrespective of whatever is the innovation that's happening in the cell level, like today you have the monoperc cell, next TOPCon is coming, heterojunction is coming, and then you have the perovskites coming in. We'll be one layer above and give this value addition of tracker-like performance with a stationary glass element, and that's what our core innovation is about. Our larger vision is, so today we have about 1 terawatt of solar installations done worldwide. But the entire scope of solar, the power of sun is such that just, like 1 hour of sunlight is enough to meet the entire world's energy need. If that is the case, why are we not accelerating further? And this can enable us towards the dream of having a carbon neutral world by 2050, and that's what all the nations have pledged to. So if that is the case, like, why just stop with the idea that solar is something that's going to sit out on the rooftop? Why not, if you look at an urban home, I myself, I live in an apartment, and I cannot do solar, though being a proponent of solar, I'm not able to use solar energy. So why can't we, our dream is, can we convert every surface that's exposed to the sun with this motion-free optical tracking that can overall give a better value propositions for solar products. So coming back to this, the urban use case, like your balcony, if you see all in the urban cities, right? It's all with the glass windows, and any big builders that you go, it's all with glass facades that you have the balcony railings. The entire thing can be converted to solar, and today it's not being done. Because the solar, the moment you put it in a vertical manner, it's not efficient. It's, even if it's a east-facing balcony, it's going to give you power for only 50%, because the rest of the time the sun, it's not efficient. So can we offset those gaps with a better way of tracking the sun? And that's what we are looking at. And so we are in the process of commercializing this technology. It will be launched early next year. And we have 2 products. One is the Agri-PV panel. I'll explain on that a bit. And the other one is on the regular rooftop and industrial rooftop solar panels. That's the product which overall improves the energy efficiency by up to 20%. And so coming back to this Agri-PV, that's it's a very niche field. I don't know how many of you are familiar with this concept. But it is, it's picked up, and there are currently about 20 Agri-PV pilots pan-India. And the value proposition is, so today we are looking at, we are at like about 165 gigawatt of renewables, and we are going to triple this capacity in the next 10 years to 450 gigawatt by 2030. So if so, we are going to sooner or later run out of land. You can't be depending on land available in Rajasthan or Pavagada or Kamuti to get hold of this dry, arid lands. So can we have a solution which will be a win-win for the developers as well as the farmer? And Agri-PV comes to this rescue where you can have the panels underneath and, the crops underneath, and the panel as a canopy. And it's good for the panels in the sense that transpiration from the plants will be cooling the panels, and the crops, especially in a tropical environment, would not get cooked. And that's the value proposition. With traditional panels, the problem is you have a block shadow which prevents the vegetation growth, and the photosynthesis gets affected. And so we have a new panel design and a layout that would promote this agriculture cultivation and dual usage of land. And so that's something on being an agronomy country that we would like to take this forward. Thank you.
Awesome. Quick, I have a question on that. So these Agri-PV panels, does it need any specific or any specialized racking, or will it work with any typical racking out in the market, the mounting structure?
So the only thing is for the farm machinery, right? Like if you are, so you can't be going with a typical 1 meter ground mounted system. It will be an elevated structure so that you can have any kind of farm machinery going underneath. So it will be an elevated structure. The rest of your purlins and rafters, everything else would remain the same. We just have a unique arrangement of, we have a panel and the light redirecting prisms in an interleaved manner. So that lets the light, and also we don't want to redirect light. So we are not a concentrating solution. So we redirect only light as much as needed for the cells so that we offset when it is not at the peak performance. The rest of the time the light goes waste. And that would be very well suited for the crop underneath.
You said your tracking, motion-free tracking is something next year, commercialized around the time next year. Do you want to maybe talk about where it is right now, or any support you're looking from people who are here at the event?
Yeah, so today, currently we are tied up with a Tier 1 manufacturer in Coimbatore, and Select Energy System is supporting us. And the Agri-PV pilot has been demonstrated in Agriculture University in Telangana. And we are looking to expand the scope of it in multiple other Agri-PV locations, along with various other government bodies. Those are in discussion. And our other demo setup is coming up in Coimbatore factory itself, so that we'll have all the stakeholders to come down. And so it is in the piloting stage, but we are looking forward to take the commercial orders early next year. The other thing is we are looking forward to currently the light redirecting prisms, which is our patented product. So we're getting this sourced externally, and we are looking forward to talk to the Indian glass manufacturers, to tie up and take this for larger production.
Awesome. I think before we,
Very quick question. I mean, is a retrofit possible? I mean, can this be put onto existing plants?
So unfortunately, it is not. It is, as I said, a kind of a unique layout of, we call this as a, your people are used to a form factor of 2x1 or 1x1 for a solar panel size. So we did try out that idea. It just doesn't work out. It would result in kind of like creating hotspots. So when we say that we are illuminating with more light, we are illuminating uniformly across the panel.
You said you save on 20% of the efficiency, or you increase that efficiency 20%, right? How about the cost of the glass manufacturing at the same time? So because what I understand is whenever optics come in, the cost goes up drastically, right?
So at scale, we believe like glass would be the cheapest element. So something, if you want it to work and last for 25 years, right? In fact, like we are promoting this technology for a bifacial glass-on-glass module. So we want to, in fact, go forward and say that this will work for 40 years. And glass is the longest living element in the entire solar panel assembly, and hence we choose glass as an element to redirect, and it is nothing but sand, right? It's some kind of, so we believe we would be maximum adding about additionally in the range of 5 to 10% overall at a project cost. That's primarily the cost. Where it goes is towards the transportation now, because you have this optical elements that needs to be carefully packaged. The volume of packaging increase and your cabling increase. So, so that's what we are looking at. It's a new type of panel assembly that we have done. So we are using the existing panel manufacturer's assembly line, but part of it, the process is semi-automated. But as we, go towards scaling, will be. So there is no movement. If you had looked at any kind of glass chandeliers, those have those geometries, and it will be sparkling, right? So we have some kind of pyramidal shapes on the glass. It's fixed. Once it's assembled and installed, there is nothing else that needs to be done. Yeah, that's why we call that as a motion-free optical tracking. Yeah. Yeah. So this is in fact the stationary. Yeah, sure. I'll be happy to share my card across with you.
Okay. After Bhaskar spoke and I opened up for Q&A, the organizers warned me that we were supposed to do the Q&A at the end. But since we already been on the flow, no, it's my mistake. I kind of opened it up. So I think we'll continue with the flow. I think any more questions for Renkube, we'll take it up.
So from currently in the university, we have studied this for the Rabi crops and the summer crops. Telangana Agriculture University Professor Jaishankar, Telangana Agriculture University. So we have done this for Rabi, and so what we are telling is because there will not be a block shadow completely, so we are guaranteeing about 3 to 5 hours of sunshine across all seasons for the plants, which would be enough, the PAR values meet for even the non-shade tolerant plants. So I can share further details. Yeah, so you are a biofuel, I guess. Yeah, sure. Would be happy to discuss this. I heard another requirement from a Bangalore company. Yeah. Yeah. Sure, we'll, in the benefit of the panel, we'll definitely, I'll come down and talk to you. Oh, yeah. Now, I've heard of this proposal from somebody else also, so we spoke with them. In fact, from an O&M perspective, if you take the traditional solar trackers, right, like you need a skilled laborer and to be doing the tuning, and the inverters need, the motors and gears needs to be replaced. Whereas in this case, because glass is something that's going to be fixed and there is no kind of seasonal adjustment. So other than the regular cleaning of the panel, there is nothing else that's going to change. So we don't believe we'll be adding any thing in the O&M side. It's just during the installation that the additional cost would be there. Does the soiling increase? So we have done very detailed analysis of the soiling, but all of this study is from the software. The actual field installation we'll be shortly conducting that. But what we have done is we have taken the active area which is going to be involved in redirecting the light would be a plain one, so that your robotic arms or your water-based pipe cleaning, the soil deposition wouldn't be there on that redirecting surface.
Awesome. Anyone else? All right. Thank you, Lakshmi, Santhanam, for your time. Really appreciate you answering all the questions that people had here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, we'll have Kishan Karunakaran from BioFuel.
Hi all, I'm Kishan from BioFuel. No, just showed, okay, right. So from a micro point of view as to why am I doing what I am doing, because I was a biodiesel manufacturer first. I think I set up Tamil Nadu. Yeah, so first, that's a drawing that I think inspired all of us, right? So that's a drawing by one of my friend's son in 4th, and that's his vision for the future. So that's why I think we are all doing what we are doing. So that's one macro point of why we're doing what we're doing. On a micro part, yeah, I set up Tamil Nadu's first commercial scale biodiesel manufacturing, 2008, but wasn't able to run it successfully because as a biofuel manufacturer, wasn't able to do a lot of sourcing because the supply was extremely fragmented, wasn't able to market effectively because I had to build awareness, and demand was way bigger than the size of my plant. So that's the reason why we're doing what we're doing. We're a marketplace. We help waste sellers to sell their waste and not go to landfills, and even if it sells, not give it to traders, and ensure it reaches biofuel manufacturers more effectively, helping biofuel manufacturers source their wastes more efficiently and effectively. And thereby help biofuel manufacturers focus on what they do best, biofuel manufacturing. And similarly, a lot of fuel consumers, all of them have net zero objectives, unable to move towards biofuels because they've been used to the comfort of buying conventional fossil fuels from large companies with quality assurance, completely organized transaction with transparent transaction, and easy to buy. So what we do is we give them the same experience buying biofuels with complete quality assurance, complete transparency through our technology platform, and make it easy for them to buy. So we plug the gaps for the waste seller, the biofuel manufacturer, and the fuel consumer, the three key stakeholders, and thereby we are doing what we're doing, an online marketplace that solves the gaps for all stakeholders in the biofuel sector. And then India has this unique thing of being one of the largest producers of wastes and the third largest consumer of energy in the world. And so, like Himanshu said, we should be plugging our own energy requirement from the wastes that are produced in this country. So that's the vision with which we started that. And so we're very aggressively trying to mainstream biofuels, scaling up huge volumes with the large fuel consumers, who are also the largest emitters of carbon dioxide emissions. So that's the vision with which we're pushing biofuel.com and helping mainstream biofuels and help large consumers to switch towards biofuels effectively. Yep, so that's pretty much what we do.
Anyone has any questions for Kishan? Is it because people don't really understand biofuel, or are we done with the questions for the day?
How are you aggregating field-level agriculture waste for
So there are two ways. We do have our own transport network partners with the help of which we aggregate place to place. So in India, another aspect is the biofuel feedstock for biofuel manufacturers in every particular region has to come from the wastes that are around that region because it has a transport efficiency. And these are clusters. So one, there are transport aggregate partners who aggregate this across. And then there are micro aggregators like FPOs and few micro aggregators who already exist there, from whom we also source it for the biofuel manufacturers.
And what scale are you able to source from the field?
So currently we do from a biomass and feedstock alone, we do close to 10,000 tons a month. So about, I would say direct field would be about 30% of that, 3,000, 4,000 tons, and the rest of it from micro aggregators.
I have a question about the quality of the feedstock. One is, do you have issues with the quality that is being supplied? And secondly, are you able to guide the farmers so they can produce somehow the raw material is higher quality for your buyer?
One of the major sources, not only the farmers, it's also agro-processing industries that are who give this. To a great extent, most of the wastes are on an as-is basis. They need a pre-treatment from drying or some kind of a process at the biofuel manufacturer end. That's where it's easier to manage the quality. But we do give this inputs at the micro aggregator and at the agro-processing industry level also, so that helps them earn better value as they go forward. Yeah.
I have one quick question. So, like, there are quite a few changes which are happening in the use of the agro waste. Like, a lot of companies are now looking for the alternate materials which has a higher upside rather than just the biofuel out of it. Do you work with those companies as well, or do you see more of a challenge with that market? Like, take an example, the agro waste being used for the textile, cosmetics, other sort of products as well, which definitely has a higher upside compared to the biofuel.
Currently, we do work with those industries also. I think that's a very interesting market that's also coming up. Bioplastics, as in Spectralite in Bangalore, uses biomass for plastics. There is a company based in Karur which processes biomass waste, textiles, and yarns. So yeah, we work with them also.
Thank you.
Practically every agri-residue and every residue. So for us, the way we define biofuels is slightly different. We don't define biofuels as fuels from only organic biomass or agro-wastes. We define biofuels as fuels from any wastes of human activity. So that includes plastic waste that converts into plastic waste fuel, tire and rubber waste that gets converts into fuel. So Yeah, practically, I think our SKUs can be endless, but yeah, we have a lot of agro residues currently, and that's the key part. So traditionally in the biofuel value chain, there are only X type of organic waste or agro residues that found their way into the biofuel value chain. There were a lot of agro wastes which never found their value into the biofuel value chain. And it required some rich research to understand that all that matters is the GCV and the burning value for it to be converted into fuel. And increasingly, technology is able to process more types of such wastes, and more wastes will also get into the value chain as we go forward. Yeah, so most of the logistics for all our supplies, we do take care through our transport partners. Yeah, we do. There is the challenge. So these are challenges that we faced as we started, and then we plugged each of these, yes. So most of the logistics, we do take care. Yeah, that's been one of our inspiration to start. And so we are now in Punjab and NCR also. Yes, we are also looking to work with IOCL in one of the projects for 2G bioethanol based on the stubble and the wheat straw and the paddy straw that gets burnt there. So there's a model that we're building for supply of that to convert into 2G bioethanol. There are challenges, but yeah, we're working on that either. So the model that we are working on is so that the farmer or the FPO that the farmer is part of directly becomes aggregator to IOCL. So instead of we becoming the supplier to IOCL, in that place alone, we be more of the technology partner for the farmer and ensure that the farmer himself is, or the FPO that he's a part of, bids to the IOCL. And that way he gets paid better. Yes, I think, yeah. So the farmer is a very active part of an FPO. It's more like a cooperative where he's a very integral part, and he himself can't supply to IOCL. It's only as a part of FPO that they can supply. Yeah. No, so that we don't do. We don't do. We do only the aggregation part of it. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So we don't do exactly only a commission-based marketplace. In most of the transactions, we buy those wastes and sell it to the biofuel manufacturers, and we buy the biofuels and sell it to fuel consumers, because that's how the most of the consumers want it to be. Although we started off with the model of just being an open marketplace, yeah, but only in the IOCL model, we just worked that model because we wanted the farmers to be paid better. Yeah, I can. Not much, but yeah, again, it's very specific to each type of biofuel. For example, if we take off solid biomass or various types of biomass which are not finding their way into the value chain, coming into the briquettes chain, there it's only drying which is major part of the pre-treatment, which is already there, and that can primarily take care of any type of feedstock. But now we go to biodiesel, yeah, the pre-treatment technologies evolved significantly, and so more and more wastes are being able to come into the value chain. While if we take plastic waste to fuels, I think pre-treatment is still a challenge. It still depends on very PPE or HDP or LDP shreds. The lower you go, it's tougher to convert that into, or the efficiency is much lower, making the commercial viability of such a project difficult. So each type of biofuel, in most of the biofuels, currently pre-treatment challenges are taken care by technology. But there are certain spaces where, yeah, the technology needs to evolve. We started off with Tamil Nadu because we are from Tamil Nadu, and then we moved to Karnataka. Now we operate Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Maharashtra, AP, Telangana, Punjab, NCR. All right.
Thanks, Kishan, for your time.
Thanks a lot.
Much appreciated.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
We have one more startup for the day, for the session. I'm sorry. We'll have Keshav Prasad from Sunrise CSP.
Yeah, I'm maybe a senior professional in solar energy. Many of you would have not seen the market during that time. So during 90s, I started my career in Tata BP Solar. We started that company, and we grew that company to where it is today. So I was part of the team for almost 25 years. Last 10 years, I used to be part of ILFS Energy. We built large-scale solar parks. So today, I represent Sunrise CSP. I'm advising them. So this startup is a technology in solar thermal, which is, many of you know when India started its journey in maybe 2010-11. So they started both together, PV and CSP. It's concentrated solar thermal. Unfortunately, this technology could not catch up due to a variety of reasons and left behind. But looking at the technology which has come from Australia, which has been developed by Australian National University, and patents are owned by this company called Sunrise CSP. So it's very promising. It will be a breakthrough when you look at the firm electricity cost, that is PV with storage and CSP with storage. It does compete. More than that, there are also other applications where heat is a requirement, where you are looking at industrial heat, which is also a contributor to the net zero journey, so which needs that solution. So this technology provides that solution, apart from green hydrogen XYZ. So I will quickly run through the slides, maybe 5 minutes. Yeah. So what is the solution we are trying to solve in terms of application? So whether it is green hydrogen generation, ammonia generation, where or we give the process heat application, where we give cooling or heating requirements for the building, or in terms of waste processing, of course on the electricity generation, so that you can see the multiple applications which the technology can be used. The technology is very simple. As you can see, there is a highly reflective mirror, and at the center point you have what's called as a receiver. So the water flows through the receiver, and the aluminum reflectors will amplify the sunlight by almost a factor of 2,000. So you experience a high temperature of almost 600 degrees in the receiver, and that steam is generated further for a variety of applications. And the whole system is tracked on a bidirectional basis. So you can see this is a patented technology. I think many of the investors mentioned they support patent IP-backed technologies. This is one of them. So where you have unique manufacturing strategy where you need not have to manufacture everything. So it can be manufactured on site. It has the conversion of 96%. You can say light to electric conversion is significantly higher compared to PV. It has certain storage unique technologies in the form of molten salt storage. So it has the concentration ratio highest within the CSP space. This technology is far better and far cost competitive. And heat generation, you can go anywhere from 150 degrees to 1,700 degrees centigrade by suitably integrating. Next one. Yeah, these are some of the storage options where depending on the temperature range. Next. This is the typical market what we have seen, previous one. Yeah. This is the market what we see in India. Yeah. So you can see it's about 25,500. Each big dish what you see is a 25 square meter, and the potential in paper industry, textile, cold storage, if you combine all this, it is about 25,500 potential dishes. It's a huge requirement. Additional to this is the power, food processing, desalination, hydrogen, iron and steel. So 200,000 dishes is the typical estimation. Next one. This is the typical pipeline. The company is about 3 years old. It has done the first installation in Baroda for Kailas research hospital to meet their laundry needs and some canteen steam requirement. So that project is, you can call it as a prototype, has been developed. Now they are in the stage where they have to go towards commercial project. So that is the right stage where the technology has been demonstrated. So in terms of opportunity, in terms of pipeline, there are significant pipeline has been built, almost 400 plus dishes. There are about 4 customers, one in Chennai as well, so where the contract's under final negotiation. So we believe that this will be a game changer compared to what you saw in PV coming out maybe about 8-10 years back. So this also can be a significant value add. Next. So there is a significant development in the marketplace. Engineers India Limited has tied up with this company. So we have a MOU signed up. So they will be doing the marketing as well as the engineering as a partner, system engineering. So the technology of CSP is provided by Sunrise. So it is an alliance for next 5 years. So significant business cases has been built, whether it is large petrochemical plants or for power industry. So you will see lots of news around this. Yeah, next. Yeah, this is about EIL, which all of you know. Next slide. Yeah, this completes the life cycle cost of energy compared to various other sources of energy. When you see coal, natural gas, LPG, HSD, furnace oil, obviously the cost of generation of steam using these sources today, the second and third rows will tell you anywhere ranging from in coal 2 to 2 rupees 80 paisa. It varies up to 9-10 rupees today. That is the scenario. So many of the industries are used to that level of cost, and apart from the ESG journey which they have to take, they also have to look at economics part of it. So it is significantly high. So this offers a great solution to such problems. And you can see the cost of base cost of using big dish. It is anywhere in the life cycle cost should be around 2 rupees 50 paisa to 3 rupees. And in terms of savings for customers using that, depending on the different fuel source, anywhere from 14 to 20% the customer can save. Apart from the investor can also save anywhere from 12 to 40% in terms of return on equity. So that's the broad economics. Next one. This is the final slide. Basically, there is a huge need. We believe that the technology serves significantly. There are a lot of government initiatives. The mandate has been made in the form of CO2 reduction, and at the same time, the industries also, they have a target where they will have to adopt solar thermal. There's also a grand policy of MNRE, which was there for CSP, is getting reintroduced. India is significantly better in terms of sunshine. The financials are attractive. So we believe that this is the brief introduction of Sunrise CSP and its technology. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the time, sir. Unfortunately, with the time constraint for us to move to the next topic, we would like to have the anyone with a Q&A to please, talk to Mr. Keshav offline, just so that the event can continue. We're really sorry to have not given the time. It's just that there are events that's been planned throughout the evening. So I hope people who have questions can wait and talk to Mr. Keshav Prasad before he leaves. Yeah. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Thank you to the folks on the dais for representing the investment firms as well, and people who came in and pitched their startups. So have a good evening. Thank you.